Hello and welcome to the Tiny Human Knits podcast, my podcast about knitting, sewing, crochet, cross stitch, and all manner of crafty goodness. My name is Laura and I'm coming to you from High Level, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my boyfriend and our dog, Gus. He's currently outside enjoying the slightly warmer weather we've been having. We had a bunch of snow come in again and now it's finally going above zero. I mean, it's only 10 degrees, but beggars can't be choosers. You can find me online as Tiny Human Knits everywhere on Instagram, Ravelry, YouTube, and Etsy. I've got my Etsy shop up. It's empty right now because I'm having, mostly because I started my full-time job. So it's a seasonal job. I work during the summer for the seasonal fire center. So I'm busy doing my work and then I'm just taking a little bit of extra time for myself to just kind of hang out and knit and all of my other crafts. Actually, I think this is the first time I've said that it's sewing, crochet, cross stitch, and knitting, and this is probably the first week that I've done all 4 of those in 1 week. I don't have any finished objects in sewing. I mainly make project bags, but I've made a couple project bags, and I finished a cross stitch. I actually finished 2 cross stitches. I can't show them because one was for, I have it with me, it's for a coworker, but it's not exactly podcast appropriate. And the other one, I made a Calvin and Hobbes cross stitch for my cousin Jennifer because she loves Calvin and Hobbes, and I made a project bag out of it. So I gave that to her over the weekend. So those are that. I am working on another cross stitch right now. That one's for myself, so I get to keep that one. I also worked on my crochet granny square blanket a little bit, and I finished some sewing. I will start off, I'm currently hosting the Marie Wallen Knit Along. That'll be going till the end of the year, I've decided, because I've got a couple on my Make 9 that I want to make, and I actually want to finish them, so I'm giving myself to the end of the year to finish them. I haven't got any on my needles yet, but I am starting one hopefully today or tomorrow. I am going to be starting the lapwing pullover, which is an all-over colorwork pullover. And in the pattern, technically it's back and forth, but I'm going to do that thing where you're doing around because it's a lot easier. And then I'm going to do steeks for the armholes and the collar, and that'll be my first time steeking, and I'm really excited about that. So we'll see how that goes, and I will talk more about that later on. And yeah, so that's in my Ravelry group. I will have links for everything down below. I will also be linking a tutorial video. I filmed a tutorial for how to dye your own self-striping yarn. I'm not done editing it, so I'll probably be putting it up either right before or right after this podcast episode goes up. So that will be up. It's long, it's nonsensical, in my opinion. I tried to explain the best I could, so there's a lot of yammering. So hopefully it makes sense. I think it kind of does, but that's because I'm the one doing the talking. So I'll be posting that, and I'll put a link in the down bar here if you want to go check that out. If it's not down there, it means I haven't uploaded it yet. So that's another thing I was doing. So I'm finished, pretty much finished that. I just need, like, it's honestly, I could have uploaded it over the weekend, but I got distracted. But I think that's everything. Yes. I am currently wearing my White Horse sweater by Caitlin Hunter, and I love it. I think I talked about this last episode where I wasn't sure if I was going to like it when I was knitting it, but now that it's done, I like it a lot. It's made out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in their worsted weight, and it's lovely. Pretty soon it's going to be too warm to wear it, but my office has incredibly high air conditioning, so hopefully that will help. So I actually have 5 finished objects today, but I can only show 3 because 2 of them are pairs of socks from my advent calendar, so I'm not going to show them here because that would be ridiculous. So I decided that I was going to make samples of all the advent calendar colors I was going to dye, or I was going to put in the advent calendar, just so I knew exactly how, because a lot of times in the skein it looks different than it does in a sock, so I'm just testing them out a little bit. Actually, now that I bring that up, my advent calendars, I've talked about them before, but it's a sort of a done deal now in my brain. I'm doing 3 different sets, so there will be a 100 gram, 4 skeins of 100 grams of yarn set with the 5 mini skeins, and that will have some extra goodies. There's going, hopefully I'm not giving up the goose, but there's going to be a sock size project bag in there and a couple of other goodies in there. And that will be the full price set, then I'm going to have another set where it's 4 skeins of 50 grams of self-striping yarn with the 5 mini skeins and a project bag. And then the last set will be just the yarn and just 50 grams of each and the mini skeins. So it's kind of set up where you can pick your price point pretty much. And my post office finally got in the prepaid boxes. This is for Canadians only. So I will have a flat rate shipping for all of the different ones for that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's the advent calendars. I'm going to be working on them over the summer. I will put up listings on June 1st. So less than a month away, I'll have pre-order listings for that. And I also, today is May 6th. It's May 6th. I will be having the well sought after Dunder Knit Rainbow pre-orders going up today. So I'll just show you what those look like. So this is the Dunder Knit Rainbow as seen on the Knitting Vicariously podcast. And she gushed, she waxed poetic about this because I sent her some and it made me really embarrassed even though I was sitting by myself watching her YouTube video. But anyway, regardless. So this is the Dunder Knit Rainbow. I have had a lot of people asking when I would be having more. I'm going to be putting listings up tonight for pre-order. And then I'll be putting in an order for my berry yarn just to see how many I should make. Currently today I'm actually dyeing up 50 gram skeins of the Dunder Knit Rainbow. So I will have, I think, 18 50-gram balls of, or 50 gram skeins of this colorway, if that's more your jam, if you don't need a full 100 grams. So I'll be having those, I'll be listing the 50 gram ready to ship and a 100 gram pre-order. That'll be going up today, later on today. I will post about it in my Instagram stories. So I'm going to do a lot of them. So don't worry about missing out. I will just keep adding more, I think, until I've got everyone who wants them. So Dunder Knit Rainbow will be in the shop probably when you see this video. So go check that out. And yeah, So anyway, my finished objects this week, I'm actually quite excited about because I've finished my first Christmas present. But first I'm going to start off with a pair of socks. I was working on these in my last episode. And I've finished them now. So this is the Scrappy Sock Volume 3. I haven't put this up in the shop yet, and I'll probably take a little while because I'll be busy doing the Dunder Knit Rainbow ones, but this is Scrappy Sock Volume 3, and I really like it. I like the contrast in it, and I just did my normal 56 stitches. Apparently my new normal now is cuff down, which I'm really loving. And I did a slip stitch heel flap, but I've been mostly doing the Eye of Partridge modified heel flap, but this time I just did a slip one, knit one every side instead of alternating, and I actually really like the way it looks. I love these columns. It makes me want to knit like a top with that sort of slip stitch design on it, but we'll see if I ever have time for that. But yeah, so they're going into my pile of hand knit socks that won't be worn until next winter, which is pretty exciting because my pile has now, it's got 12 pairs of socks in it, and that's twice as much as I have now, so it's going good. Having to make samples of my self-striping is actually doing really well for my sock drawer. So that's the first finished object. The second finished object is, okay, I'm going to do this one first. Okay. I think this was on the needles and I had sort of abandoned it to knit the Christmas present, but I finished 2 nights ago, and this is going to look silly because it's 1x1 rib, so it's going to look weird. I finished my Romina top by Fable Knitwear. Her name's Helene. And I love it. I tried it on before I blocked it, so it should fit even better, but I knit the Rowena jumper. And it is fabulous. So the body's knit entirely in 1x1 rib. And I actually knit the entire body and from when you join in the sleeves up inside out. because I know from experience that my 1x1 rib looks a lot better on the wrong side than it does the right side. I've discussed this before in my podcast. Now that it's blocked, it doesn't really look like it made much of a difference, but I can tell there is a little bit of a difference. So I knit this completely inside out, and then when it came to doing the increases for the sides, for the bust increases, I just did all my increases on the purl side. So there's a way that you can do exactly reverse of a make one right, make one left in purl. So that's what I did. And then for the sleeves, I knit these first. I knit the 1x1 rib for the cuff on the wrong side, and then I just changed direction to make it the inside. So, and then when I got to joining the sleeves to the body, I just turned the sleeves inside out, and then I purled them onto the body, and then I did all my decreases the same way. I did them the purl-wise instead of the knit-wise, as you do. Increases for the puff sleeves I did on the wrong side, so it's all completely knit inside out, and I'm actually really happy with it. And so I did my little puff sleeves, which I think are super cute. Modifications for this, I know I have broader shoulders, broader measurement for my shoulders than is the normal ratio, the stereotypical ratio for my bust. So I stopped doing the decreases for the raglan for the front and back a couple rows before you were supposed to, and I think that worked out really well. And then I also, there's a keyhole opening. All I need to do for this is sew on a button, and I've already picked it out. I got a bunch of vintage buttons from my cousin for, I'm not sure why she gave them to me, but I have them, and there was one button in there that was perfect, and it wasn't even part of a set. It was just a solitary button, so it was perfect. But there's this keyhole opening, and I only did half the recommended length for the neck as is in the pattern, and I think that worked out really well, because any higher and I think it would have been too tight around the neck. So I'm really happy with it. It looks ridiculous because 1x1 rib cinches in, but it's very stretchy. People kept asking me if I was making something for a baby. I'm not. Just got a small torso. So this is going to go fantastically well with some of my high-waisted skirts, and I'm really happy with it. I knit it on 4mm needles, I think, and I knit it out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Sport in the Merlot Heather colorway. I have a lot of this colorway. I have a worsted weight and a fingering weight in this colorway to make sweaters with, because I love this colorway. It's beautiful. I also did a super stretchy bind off for the neck so it wouldn't feel too tight as well, so I've got that. And yeah, that is my Romina jumper, and I think it is fabulous. And now it was blocking all day today, and I think it's about dry. So I can sew on the button later after I'm done this and go about my day. Okay. All right. Talking too much. My next finished object is for my mother. And Mom, if you're watching, could you please stop or pretend to be surprised at Christmas time? Thank you. So, I showed this on last week's podcast, and I was going to cast on a soldata top a couple weeks ago, but then I had just this feeling of finish your other projects first. So I told myself that if I finished my my Dark Cloud by Joji Locatelli, I could cast on something else. Which is funny because as soon as I finished my Dark Cloud, I thought to myself, well, you're almost done, or you've already started another sweater. Why don't you finish the Romina top first? So I did. So for 5 glorious minutes, I had clear needles. It was great. But I finished my Dark Cloud, and this is also knit in Knit Picks. This is the heavy worsted / Aran weight. I think it's City DK Aran. I can't remember the colorway, but it's this colorway. So I believe I knit the 5th size. My mom is a lot taller than I am. She's about 8 inches taller. She's got wide hips and she likes big cozy sweaters. So I knit the 5th size, and it it goes down to my knees. I don't know if you can see, it goes down there. So it's the 2 panels, all garter stitch and squishy and fabulous. And yeah, I finished the main panels last weekend, I think. And then it's a lot of picking up stitches and doing the ribbing. So there's the crossover at the sides here, which I think looks so tidy. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, anyway, it's a great pattern. It's it was a bit cumbersome at the end because you knit the back part and then you pick up stitches around the shoulder and knit down for the front. So you're knitting back and forth, which is easy, but you're having to maneuver a lot of fabric. But it was all right in the end. And I worked on the second sleeve when we were watching last weekend. We were watching the 3rd episode of Game of Thrones, and I knit it really quickly. And then I finished the sleeve, but I didn't want to do a bind off while we were watching. And then I picked up a pair of socks that I was knitting, and I ended up almost knitting the sock too long because I ran out of like knitting to do. So I had to put that aside. So it was just me freaking out silently to myself. But yeah, so it's got 3/4 length, or like a little past the elbow. There's sort of a bell sleeve. But yeah, it's really long. I kind of gauge whether it's going to fit my mom because she likes sweaters that cover her butt and she's so much taller. So I know that if they go to my knees, usually they're going to be about the right size. So I finished my first Christmas present in April, and it makes me very happy. So I can put this away. I'm going to put it in a box or something with some cedar pieces, and then I'll have it ready for Christmas. It's very heavy, again, for my mom. If I was knitting something for myself, it would take half the amount of yarn, which is why it's so important not to overcharge for yarn and stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's glorious. Kind of want to use it as a pillow, but it was a great blanket while I was knitting it. So those are my finished objects. I can now move swiftly on to works in progress, which I have one of. I'm working on another Christmas sock. I don't know if it's going to be part of the advent calendar. I think it's going to be an advent calendar reject, but I still really like it, so I'm working on that. I'm not going to show you because I don't want to. But I cast on, 5 minutes after I finished my Romina top, I cast on another Christmas present. So I didn't even cast on this Sildana because I got in a mood to finish Christmas presents, which apparently this is the year I'm going to make everyone Christmas presents in my family. Well, my 2 sisters anyway, and my mom, and my nephews, but we'll see. Anyway, so I cast on another Weekender sweater, which I was planning on making a Weekender for my sister Marianne, since I made it for myself, because it's just her style. She is a jeans, casual, t-shirt wearing lady, and I feel like the Weekender is the perfect sort of like mildly fancy top for someone who likes to wear jeans and such. So I cast on the Weekender by Andrew Mallory, and I am knitting it in Knit Pick Stroll Tweed in the Dill Heather and the Down Heather together, because she loves wearing green, but I wanted to tone it down with a little bit of this beautiful gray, and the tweed sort of brings it all together. So I'm knitting it with these 2 together, and I think I'm knitting the large size, but I went down a full needle size. So I went down from, because it calls for a 5.5 millimeter, but I went down to a 4.5. So I know it's going to fit her, but it's going to be a slightly more dense fabric. Because I was getting, I started knitting with a 5 millimeter, but I wasn't liking how sort of see-through, I guess, like how thin the fabric was. So I switched needles after like 3 rows. But I've cast it on. This is it. So I really love this top. I think she's really gonna like it, and I really like the way it marls together. But so my Weekender that I made, I had cast on the tubular cast on for the ribbing in the front and back because it's got a split high-low hem, and I ended up cutting that off at the end and knitting the ribbing down and then binding off because it had been too tight when I cast on. So I, instead of dealing with that or doing a tubular cast on, which I'm not fond of, I decided I was going to cast it on provisionally for the whole body, and then I would pick up those stitches at the end and knit the ribbing down. So that is what I did. I did the crochet chain provisional cast on. So the entire body of my sweater is on a provisional cast on, and when I'm finished, I will pick up those stitches and then do a 1x1 rib on both sides and then cast off with the sewn tubular bind off, which I really like. I find it very therapeutic. It looks nice and it's a lot easier. So that is my plan. I am probably going to knit it a little bit longer, like an inch or two longer. My sister's quite tall compared to me, like my entire family is. So that is what I'm planning on doing. And right now it's just a body of stockinette with a slip stitch, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just fun. I've been reading a lot online, so I signed up for an open library, so an online library. And I've been reading, I just finished reading a book called Angela's Ashes, which is a movie that I really like, so I wanted to read the book. And they actually did a really good job with the transition from book to movie. But then the author, it's a memoir, he actually wrote 2 more after that, so that's what I've been reading. As well as, I'm also reading American Gods, and it's really good. I want to finish reading it so I can watch the show, because I think it'd be really interesting. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. So I've got this one cast on, and I also have the next pattern picked out for my oldest sister, Irene. I ordered yarn for that, and that should be coming in this week sometime. It's also pretty basic. I'm actually casting on the Daily sweater by Andrea Mallory because my oldest sister is quite a bit bigger than I am, and I just feel like it's going to be one of those sweaters that just fits really well. And she also wears a lot of jeans, but she also wears a lot of long dresses, and I feel like that's the type of shirt that will go over a long dress really well. So yeah, that's my plan. And then I've got 3 nephews, so I'm going to be making them sweaters as well. I've got twin nephews, Arthur and Merlin, and they're getting, I haven't picked out the pattern exactly yet. We'll find out. But my oldest nephew, Eric, is ridiculously tall, so I'm essentially going to make a sweater for myself, or one that would fit me, and hope for the best that it fits him, because he's such a big kid. He's only 5, and he's practically almost as tall as I am, because I'm shorty pants. But yeah. So I also planned out my next cast on, which is going to be the lapwing pullover. And that printed out. So this one right here, it's all over color work. It's beautiful. I'm going to be knitting it in the round with steeks at the armholes instead of flat, because that sounds like a pain in the butt. So I really want to learn how to steek, because that'll kind of open up a world of possibilities for me. So it's a lapwing by Marie Wallen. I'm knitting it for my Marie Wallen Knit Along. And I've chosen, and okay, you know what, I should say now, I'm not sponsored by Knit Picks, because my oldest sister's sweater is also going to be knit in Knit Picks yarn. I'm affordable, haha. So I picked Marine Heather and Finley Heather. And I think these are going to be so nice together. The Marine Heather has this gorgeous blue and green undertones, and I think they are fabulous. So I kind of used my Anushka sweater as a large gauge swatch, because that one I knit in the exact same yarns and it's color work, so it was a really easy way for me to judge my tension. And I'm just going to cast on with Wild Abandon and hope for the best. So I've got my bag with my needles and my yarn, and this will be if I'm just feeling something a little bit more complicated, because a lot of my projects that I'm going to be having are a lot of stockinette, so I'll be doing that. But yeah, I think the only other project I'm working on right now, besides sewing bags, is I'm working on a cross stitch. And this is the start of it. And I got a bunch of needle minders and stitch markers. It's so cute. I could spend a long time showing you every single one of them, but I'll probably just show you when I have them on a project. So I got the needle minder from Simply Serving. We did an exchange. She gets a lot of my leftover 50-gram ball of yarn that I use from sock projects on self-striping, and she sent me a bunch of stitch markers, progress keepers, and such. But yes, this is the start of, it's going to be just a small, simple 3-color cross stitch. Hopefully this isn't giving the game away. I'll do it from far away. It's this one, so you can't zoom in. I want to make it so, and put it in a little frame to put up at work, just because I think that's funny. Because I have a really lowball sense of humor. So, yeah. It's really good for when my hands are a little bit tired from the various things I do about the house. So it's like kind of taking a break. It's kind of like when I take 3 minutes to do a little crochet circle for my blanket. It's just quick and easy, little change of movement. So I'm working on that a little bit, and I'm kind of saving a little bit of it because my lovely friend Taryn wants to learn how to cross stitch. I actually bought her a cross stitch kit for her birthday, so she's gonna learn, and it's a good way to show her with something that I have that's really simple. Because I keep telling people, like, cross stitch is easy. It's just a matter of, it's a practice thing, and also just a matter of counting. It's just keeping your counts together. So I think that'll be fun because she's excelled as a knitter a lot in the last year or two, and it's really exciting. She's now making her own sweaters without needing any help or anything like that. So it's really exciting. So moving on to another craft will be really fun for her, I think. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any acquisitions. I probably do. I buy knit picks a lot because I knit a lot for other people with knit picks, and it's just easier that way. But I think besides that, I like to show when I actually have, when I'm using the thing that I have. I buy a lot of patterns, but I think that might be everything. I could talk about life stuff for a while. Like I said, I started my job, so I've got that during the day. I work a 10 and 4 shift, so 10 on, 4 off. And that's fun. I really like it. It's data entry, so it's just entering a lot of data. So I really enjoy it. I get to work with Taryn, so a lot of times when there's nothing going on, we just sit there and knit together. So I've got that. I'm going to be starting planting outside pretty soon. Around where we are, we have to wait pretty much until June 1st to do any planting outside because it's snowing until then. So there's that. And yeah, gonna do that. Gus is doing great. He's a lazy bugger. I'm going to, what am I doing? So, okay. So because they're not doing Edinburgh Yarn Festival next year, they've said, I actually, before I even knew that, I had no plans of going to Scotland this year. I wanted to go next year, but because I really want to travel, I ended up buying tickets for the Perth Festival of Yarn in Scotland without any plans of going at all, but just in case, you know, just in case. Buy tickets to a yarn festival that's half the world away. But now that I know they're not doing Edinburgh Yarn Festival next year, I'm really considering going to Scotland in September. It'll depend a lot on my work because I can end up working a lot longer depending on how busy we are. But I would like to tentatively plan to go to Scotland this year. Like go to London and Edinburgh and Perth and all of that, and then finally get to meet Rosie of Pixel Atlantis. She's gonna be a real person. Yeah, just meet some people and have a good time. Okay, so Perth Festival of Yarn is exactly the time when my boyfriend is going back home to New Brunswick for the Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival. So I thought it would be a good time for us to just both go and do something, but he got really sad about not being able to go to Scotland, so we'll see how that pans out. Yes. I apparently don't like to plan things that far in advance, but we'll find out. I really want to go though because it's pretty there and I want to. So I'm saving up my dollars just in case, because that's not a bad thing to do either. So, because I haven't been able to travel in a really long time. I mean, besides we went to Nashville in February, but that was for something specific and wasn't really, it was a vacation, but it wasn't the same, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm gonna do the pre-order listing, some editing, and put up the tutorial video, and I want to get some sewing done today, and I'm gonna keep working on my knitting projects, and I'm having a very productive day, so I feel like, you know, does anyone else get that when they're like really productive during when you get out of bed and you start being really productive, and then you almost get like an adrenaline rush and you want to keep it going? That's how it is. Yeah, so I hope you all are doing fantastically well, and I hope I have some finished objects for you soon, some more Christmas presents, because if I get all my Christmas presents done before I'm even done work, I'm going to be a pleased young lady. That's what I'm going to be. But yeah, I'm going to sew on the button to my Rowena jumper, and then I'm going to do some planning and put up a shelf, and it's going to be grand. It's going to be great. Okay. I'm going to leave you there because I'm obviously way too hyped for this. So I hope you have a wonderful time, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!